People tend to copy what already exists. They don't reason, they reference. They see what worked for someone else and assume that it'll work for them. But creativity doesn't come from imitation, it comes from reduction. We have to break things down to their essential truths and then reason up from there. That is the essence of first principles thinking. First principles thinking is the practice of breaking down complex problems into their most basic, indisputable truths. After we have done this, we then reason upwards from these truths without relying on analogy, precedent, or convention. We want to start off with what we know is certainly true and then build up from there. Now, our goal here is to escape what we call inherited assumptions. These are belief systems or ideologies that we borrowed from other people. These are conclusions about reality that we did not come to ourselves. We can contrast first principles thinking with analogical thinking. And so I created this simple table to make it clear to you. So with analogical thinking, you're simply imitating what has worked before. And it depends on comparison. So your typical line of thought is going to be they did X, so I'll do X. Okay? Now, with first principles thinking, you kind of flip things on their head and you question what must be true in the first place. So it depends on what is true, right? So we ask, what is the fundamental reason that X worked? So an example of analogical thinking would be this company grew through paid ads, so I should run paid ads. Okay, so let's go back up to here. They did X, so I'll do X. But as we engage in first principles thinking, we ask the question, why did ads work for them in the first place? So we're looking for principles here. And the basic idea behind all of this is that certain decisions made by other people or organizations could be laden with false assumptions. And we don't want to include their false assumptions in our decision making processes. We actually want to remove them. And this is what first principles thinking actually does for you. So, to give you an example of a false assumption, I'm going to deconstruct a car. Now, let's pretend throughout my entire life, I have only seen black sedans. I haven't seen white sedans, nor have I seen purple SUVs. I've only seen black sedans, and so that is my context. That's all I know. Now, anybody in this situation, when trying to build a car, would probably assume that all cars must be black. Why would you assume such a thing? Well, that's all I've seen. Why would any car be able to be something else? Someone in my situation might erroneously assume that all cars must be sedans as well, because as I've said, that's all I've seen. Okay? And this is how analogical thinking works. So it's either what you've been told or what you've seen. And then the mind begins to reason based upon that precedent. So if I, in my current state, were to try to build such a vehicle, what kind of car do you think I'd construct? Probably a black sedan. This, as we all know, is a false assumption, but it's ingrained in my thinking because I'm reasoning analogically. Now, if we were to flip things on their head, and if I were to reason from first principles, I would ask the question, what is the essence of a car? Or what is the core mechanism of a car? We would then conclude that the core mechanism of a car is a means of propulsion, just something that converts energy into motion. The exterior of a car is largely cosmetic. It influences experience and efficiency, but not the fundamental function of motion. So, do you see how when we reason from first principles, we are effectively sifting through assumptions? We're sifting through belief systems, and we're trying to determine out of all of these assertions that have been made, which of these are legitimate, which of these are true. And this then frees us up to be creative. So instead of all cars having to be black sedans, they could be electric, they could be self driving, they could be white, they could be shared. You could even build a rocket, right? You could even reimagine what a vehicle is. So as long as we have the core mechanism of a vehicle, the rest can be reimagined. That's the basic idea here. And so I'm going to give you another example to really drive this home. So here's an example of analogical thinking. So he grew his audience by posting 3 times a day on TikTok, so I need to do the same. He did X, so I'll do X. Okay, that is the hallmark of analogical thinking. Okay, he or she did X, therefore I'll do X. without critiquing what they did, without dissecting their process, without questioning the why or inquiring into the principles behind their success. So if we approach this from first principles, we would ask the question, why did posting 3 times a day work for him? So we're looking for principles here. And so when we ask this question, we are automatically going to discover the core mechanism at play here. So because he produced consistent output, this allowed him to get a lot of feedback. Because he produced emotionally resonant content, this allowed him to gain retention and trust from his viewers. Because he had a strong message market fit. Okay? And now that we have these fundamentals or core mechanisms or principles, whatever you want to call them, we realized that we could achieve the same outcomes through a podcast, a long form essay, or public speaking. We just have to make sure these core ingredients are included. So the intention is to identify that which is true and to discard the rest. Alrighty, gang, I hope you found this video helpful. Please like, subscribe, and stay tuned. Thank you.